Good morning, students. In today's session, I am going to discuss the inversions of double slider crank chain and its inversions. In the previous session, I discussed the inversions of single slider crank chain and its inversions. Today, I am going to discuss the inversions of double slider crank chain. Actually, whenever we talk about the inversions, if you have the four links, if all the four links are for example, as we discussed in the case of 4-bar chain, uh, if all the links are having relative motion with each other, so we will be having what you can call as that means what I mean to tell you is that if the other of the all the four links are having the turning pairs, it will be a 4-bar mechanism. And when we discuss the single slider crank chain mechanism, so there will be three turning pairs and one sliding pair. That's what a single slider crank chain and its inversions we discussed. So in this session, I am going to discuss a double slider crank chain and its inversions. So what is a double slider crank chain? A kinematic chain which consists of two turning pairs. A kinematic chain which consists of two turning pairs and two sliding pairs is known as double slider crank chain. So it should have four links as usual, and there should be two turning pairs and two sliding pairs. Then the mechanism is known as double slider crank mechanism or double slider crank chain. So when we discuss such a chain, so it consists of three inversions. The first one is elliptical trammel, number two is Oldham's coupling, and number three is as it is written there, Scotch yoke mechanism. These are the three inversions of double slider crank chain and its inversions. Okay. Now first of all, let me take an elliptical trammel. The first one is elliptical trammel. So what is elliptical trammel? It is an instrument which is used to draw the ellipses. So in this, the slotted frame, as you can see, is S is fixed, right? The slotted frame is S fixed, which is having a plus mark, and any point such as P on the link AB, except the midpoint of AB will trace an ellipse as the slide blocks A and B slide along their respective slots. Okay. So slot S is fixed, which is plus mark here. So instead of removing the except the midpoint of AB, at any point if you try to rotate this point, right, except the midpoint of AB, right, the blocks A and B slide along their respective slots, and which we can say that the line AB, right, it traces the elliptical path. The equation of the ellipse is as written is here, sin square theta plus cos square theta is equal to x square by a square plus y square by b square. So you can see one figure you can see here. You can easily understand what exactly the trammel is here. Elliptical trammel which is okay. So in this, if you observe here, right, the plate is taken and two slots at right angles to each other is cut on it. You can clearly see the plate is taken and slots are cut at right angles to each other. In these slots, two sliding blocks are fitted, as you can see, right, and these slide blocks are connected by a link. You can see the link as you can see here, right, A, B, you can see, right. Next point is, at any point except the midpoint of AB, any point if you take, as you can see, the C is the midpoint here, which is tracing the circular path. apart from the midpoint of AB, any point if you take, it may be in between the point AB or the external point of AB. If you just any point if you take, as you can see in the sketch, point P, it will trace an elliptical path, right? So the points A and B move in a straight line. The point A and B move in a straight line because they are fitted in the slots. Right? As I told you, the midpoint of AB is traces a circle, right? The coordinate of the point P is given by, if you just take any ordinary any arbitrary point, the coordinate of the point can be taken as capital X is equal to A cos theta and capital Y is equal to B sin theta, where A and B are the distances from horizontal axis and vertical axis respectively. If you just substitute, if you just what you can call squaring and adding, if you do, so these are the basic mathematics you can see here. So if you just squaring adding, if you do, so you can see sin square theta plus cos square theta is equal to x square by a square plus y square by b square, which is equal to 1. It is not sin 2 theta actually, it should be sin square theta plus cos square theta is equal to x square by a square plus y square by b square is equal to 1, which is the equation of the ellipse. Okay, so this is what the first inversion of double scatter crank chain, right? The second one is, as I am talking about, the Oldham's coupling, which is the second inversion. So which is a very interesting mechanism. You know that the coupling is used to join the two shafts here, right? So when the two shafts, when the distance between the two shafts is less, and when you want to connect, and if they are not collinear, then we will make use of Oldham's coupling here. As you can see here, as you can see in the sketch clearly, that so it is Oldham coupling is used for connecting two parallel shafts when the distance between them is very small and the shafts are not collinear. That means the axes are not collinear, they are distant apart. So distant apart means not too much distant, but a small variation. If you see in the sketches here, the link 2-3 and links 3-4 forms the turning pairs, because whenever we talk about double scatter crank chain and its inversions, there should be two turning pairs and two the sliding pairs. So the links 2 and 3 and link 3 and 4 forms the turning pair in this, and link 2 and link 4 form a sliding pair with 1. That is the link 1 and 2 sliding pair, link 1 and 4 form a sliding pair, as the link 3 is fixed. So you can see here the arrangement here, there is a flange is, there are two flanges are there. The first flange is link 2, second flange is link 4. So in between these two flanges, a diametrically cut an intermediate link 1 is connected in between, right, in between these two slots. So I think you can easily understand, between the link 2 and link 4 there is an intermediate link, which is what we call it as the link 1, which is having the projections diametrically at 90 degrees to each other. So one fits in the link 2, that is T1, and T2 fix in the link 4 here. So when these three are joined, you can see the arrangement, you can see as shown in figure. So in this, when the driving shaft, you can see the driving shaft here. So when the driving shaft is rotated, the flange A connected to the driving shaft also rotate with the same angle, right? The flange A is connected to the driving shaft, so naturally when the driving shaft is rotated, the flange A will also rotate with the same speed, which is the link 2. So this transfers the motion to whom? This transfers the motion to the intermediate piece, which is the link 1, and link 1 again transfers the motion to the link 4, as you can see clearly in this, because the intermediate shaft is connected, and as the link 4 is connected, if the rotate with the same speed, naturally it transfers the speed to the driven shaft. So okay, so hence the links 1, 2 and 4 have the same angular velocity at every instant of the time. This is one of the best example where we call it as Oldham's couple, which is the second inversion of double scatter crank chain, and which is used to connect the two non-parallel shafts, parallel shafts but not collinear, but they are distant apart. So this is what one of the best inversion, second inversion of the double scatter crank chain. So you can see you can just go through the theory part later. So I have shared here. And third inversion is the Scotch yoke mechanism. The third inversion is the Scotch yoke mechanism. As you can see here, so the picture it is clearly link 1, 2, 3 and 4 you can clearly see. So this mechanism is used for converting rotary motion into the linear motion, right? The rotary motion is the link 2 which is acting as a crank. The link 2 is rotating and this motion is transferred to whom? The link 4. Therefore, this mechanism is used for converting the rotary motion into the reciprocatory motion, right? The inversion is obtained by fixing the link 1 or link 3. Either you can fix the link 1 or you can fix the link 3. Any one is possible. So in this, when the link 2 is rotating, about the fixed point A, the link 4 also reciprocates. That is, the fixed block 1. Okay, you can see the fixed block which is the frame guides whom? The link 4. So in this way, in the Scotch yoke mechanism, which is the third inversion of double slider crank chain, where we are doing? We are converting rotary motion into the reciprocatory motion. So you can see here the theory is written here. This mechanism is used for converting rotary motion into the reciprocating motion. You can see the link 2 is rotating, which is acting as a crank. As the link 2 is rotating, which transforms the motion to link 4. Link 4 is reciprocating inside the fixed block 1. This is what we call it as the Scotch yoke mechanism. So with this, I think we have completed the inversion of double slider crank chain. And at the same time, we have also completed the inversions of inversions part. So we discussed the inversions of 4-bar chain, number 1, and number 2 we discussed the inversions of single slider crank chain, and in today's class we discussed the inversions of double slider crank chain. So whenever the question is asked, right, you should draw the neat figure, and with a brief explanation if you write, then definitely it will raise the good marks for you. So probably in the next session I am going to take up some of the other mechanisms which are prescribed in the syllabus. Okay, thank you.